glad to have you back with us watching the Jon Goodman DUI manslaughter trial here on In Session. Goodman's lead defense attorney is one of the best money can buy. Attorney Roy Black is who we're talking about. He's had more than 40 years experience as a defense attorney in some really high-profile cases. In fact, he's been listed in the best lawyers in America for more than 20 years. Black's celebrity clients include Rush Limbaugh, actor Kelsey Grammer. He's probably best known for representing William Kennedy Smith, though, on rape charges in Palm Beach, Florida. He won an acquittal in that case. But I want to introduce you, too, to the lead prosecutor, Ellen Roberts. She worked the William Kennedy Smith trial as well. So this is not the first trial where they have kind of gone at each other. The veteran attorney is arguably, though, the most experienced traffic homicide prosecutor in Florida and has gotten some of the toughest punishments for drunk drivers in the entire country. 2 defendants that Roberts prosecuted for deadly crashes are serving life sentences. So I want to bring in criminal defense attorney and former judge Adipozo as we look at the first couple of people that we've been hearing from this morning on the stand. In fact, even just a couple of the witnesses in general that we've seen. Let me play some sound for you from Chris Campson and Kathleen Luter. They were 2 that were with us yesterday on the stand, and they really corroborated each other, but not for the prosecution side necessarily. Listen to this.
When you saw John at the Players Club talking to Stacy Shore at the jukebox, he did not appear intoxicated to you, did he?
No, sir.
He didn't appear drunk to you, did he?
No, sir.
At the end of the night, or at the end of the hour and 15 minutes, when you brought him his credit card slip, did he appear to be intoxicated then?
No, sir.
Was he impaired?
He was having a conversation.
Was he drunk?
No.
Okay, so these are prosecution witnesses, but when we hear them in this context, they almost sound like they're defense witnesses. I mean, it's a recurring theme right now. Everybody's saying it. He didn't seem drunk. Are they doing a good job at establishing some real strong reasonable doubt?
I mean, there's no doubt, Christy, as you just mentioned, that Roy Black is one of the best, if not the best, criminal defense attorney practicing right now in the country. And he's doing the best that he can, I think, with the facts. The problem that he has in this case is, for example, we just heard how Chris Campson said that he didn't appear, that Mr. Goodman did not appear that he was drunk. But then Mr. Campson, at the same time, a couple of sentences before, just admits that he himself was inebriated. So how good is his judgment? And also, for example, with Ms. Luter, she says that she doesn't believe Mr. Goodman looked drunk, but she also said that she didn't believe Mr. Campson, who by his own admission was inebriated, looked drunk as well. So I think Mr. Black is doing the best that he can with the facts that he has, but he can't pick his facts.
All righty, and the prosecution, at the end of the day, they had to call these witnesses, didn't they? Even though they are saying, no, they didn't look drunk, whether you believe them or whether you don't, you've got at least a couple people on the stand saying, no, I think the guy looked normal. But the prosecution had to bring this out, didn't they? Because they didn't want to leave it in the defense's hands to call them.
Yeah, I mean, they did need to take the wind out of the defense's sails that the defense would call them and say he didn't look drunk. And they also had to establish that Ms. Luter had served him drinks, as well as that Mr. Campson had done shots with him. So it cuts both ways, but by bringing it on in the state's case, what the state has done, who obviously is a very experienced prosecutor herself, is take the wind out of the defense's sail. We're not hiding anything. Here are these witnesses. Here are these witnesses that we're putting on the stand that are saying he's not drunk, but they're going to argue, I have no doubt, that how good is their judgment, how good was Mr. Campson's judgment since he was, by his own admission, drunk, and how good is Ms. Luter's assessment when she said Mr. Campson wasn't drunk.
Right. We have Lisa Pembleton on the stand right now, and I'm fascinated by her because you put yourself in her position. Here she is, just sleeping in her trailer in the middle of the night, and in walks this guy who asks to use the phone. As I understand it, at one point she was under her bed with mace, as I would have probably been too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a frightening scenario. But she's talking about how she's going to talk about how she heard Jon Goodman call his girlfriend and say, I messed up, essentially. I was in an end-of-the-world accident. Then we're going to have Heather Colby get on the stand, his girlfriend, and say, I don't remember him ever saying that. Who holds more credibility here in your assessment?
Miss Pembleton. Miss Pembleton obviously doesn't have a bias. This other young lady is either his girlfriend or his daughter, whichever way you want to look at it. And of course she's going to be biased. And of course her credibility is going to be put a lot more into question than Miss Pembleton, who was simply in her trailer sleeping when this is horrible, as you just mentioned, when this man knocks down her door, basically, and comes in disheveled and asking to use the phone. I mean, it must have been very, very scary for Miss Pembleton, who obviously has nothing to win or lose from lying on her testimony or making anything up.
Right. And because Heather Colby is disputing what Pembleton is going to say, right before Heather gets on the stand, Miss Colby gets on the stand, when you've got a witness like that jurors can look at Miss Colby and think that she has a motive of her own to say whatever she's going to say, does that count out all of her testimony usually, or do jurors pick little bits and nuggets to hold on to?
Well, the prosecution is going to argue, and we'll see if they can convince the jurors that if she lied about this, what else did she lie about? And then on the other side, the defense is going to say, look, it was the middle of the night, she was woken up, she was really out of it, and she didn't remember him saying that to her. She didn't remember specifically what the conversation was. She's not lying, she's just confused because she was woken up in the middle of the night with this terrifying news.
How do you think, how important is Jon Goodman's reaction in court as all of these people take the stand?
I mean, Jon Goodman has been very stoic throughout this whole trial. I mean, he's just obviously, his lawyers have coached him, as any good defense lawyer would, to just try not to have any expression, to just sit there, do not react to the testimony, and he's done a good job of it. I mean, he's very stoic, and he's just sitting there, and the jurors are looking at him. The jurors are looking for a reaction. They're looking at everybody in that courtroom. Having sat as a judge for many years, having the best seat in the house, shall we say, you see the jurors. And the jurors are not necessarily always focusing on the witness. They're looking around to see how the defendant is reacting to certain testimony. And up to now that we've been able to see, he's been very stoic, and we'll see how he proceeds, and if he does decide to take the stand, how he is on the stand as well.
And, because Roy Black is so renowned, and because he has been so successful in court, how do you think he prepared his client in this case?
Well, I have no doubt, and one of the things Roy Black is very well known at, in addition to being such a very good litigator, is his preparation. I mean, he leaves no page unturned. And I'm sure he told his client exactly what I just said here, which is the jury is going to be looking at you. Try not to have a reaction. Just sit there. You'll have your opportunity if you want to testify to tell your side of the story. Don't make any facial gestures. Try not to look like anything is bothering you. If there's something that you feel is going to come out, take a sip of water so the jury doesn't see your face. I'm sure those are the kind of things that Mr. Black has advised Mr. Goodman to do during the trial.
All righty. Interesting. Ada, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We appreciate your company today. So let's get you back to Lisa Pembleton.